What would you risk to see the unseen? Imagine standing at the edge of a boundary so sacred that even approaching it could cost you everything. A place where warnings aren't just signs, they're promises of dire consequences. In today's documentary, we're taking you on an impossible journey to Earth's most forbidden locations. Places that governments, nature, or deadly circumstances have declared permanently off-limits to you and me. From radioactive ghost towns to military compounds hiding secrets in plain sight, these are the places where curiosity meets consequence. Join us as we reveal what lies beyond the barriers most will never cross. The Forbidden Island, North Sentinel Island. What happens when a helicopter flies too close to North Sentinel Island? The arrows that fly toward it tell us everything we need to know. In 2004, following the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami, an Indian Navy helicopter conducting welfare checks hovered over the shoreline to assess damage. Instead of finding distressed survivors, they encountered a Sentinelese man emerging from the dense jungle, aiming his bow directly at the aircraft. His message required no translation. Come any closer and face the consequences. North Sentinel Island sits in the Bay of Bengal, approximately 700 kilometers east of mainland India, forming part of the Andaman Islands archipelago. Despite the island's modest size, spanning roughly 23 square miles, smaller than Manhattan, its significance far exceeds its geographic footprint. Home to between 50 and 150 individuals known as the Sentinelese, this forested island represents one of humanity's last remaining mysteries in an age where virtually every corner of Earth has been mapped and documented. The Sentinelese maintain a hunter-gatherer lifestyle that anthropologists believe has remained largely unchanged for thousands of years. Their isolation is so complete that we know almost nothing about their language, cultural practices, or belief systems. This knowledge gap stems from their fierce determination to remain isolated and the ethical and legal frameworks now protecting that choice. Despite being technically part of Indian territory, the island functions as a living fortress through the most straightforward form of border control, immediate and potentially deadly force against all outsiders. The Indian government, recognizing both the tribe's wishes and the catastrophic risks posed by contact, maintains a strict no-contact policy enforced through a comprehensive exclusion zone extending 3 nautical miles from the island's shores. The devastating consequences of violating this boundary became international news in November 2018. John Allen Chow, a 26-year-old American missionary, paid local fishermen to transport him near the island under cover of darkness. Against all warnings and Indian law, Chow approached the island multiple times. In his journal, he described how a young Sentinelese fired an arrow that pierced his waterproof Bible. Ignoring this warning, Chow returned the following day. The fisherman reported watching from a distance as Sentinelese warriors dragged his body across the beach. This incident illuminates the complex ethical questions surrounding the island. Indian authorities declined to recover Chow's body, acknowledging that any retrieval mission would endanger both outsiders and the Sentinelese themselves. The fisherman faced criminal charges, a stark reminder of how seriously these protective measures are enforced. The buffer zone serves a critical dual purpose, protecting the tribe from unwanted intrusions while shielding them from exposure to pathogens against which they have no immunity. Having lived in isolation for millennia, the Sentinelese lack antibodies to combat even common illnesses like influenza or measles, diseases that have devastated other indigenous populations following first contact. As one anthropologist who observed the island from a distance described it, they exist as if in a parallel timeline, where the modern world never happened. Their resilience isn't primitive, it's extraordinary, a testament to human adaptability outside the framework of technological progress. Modern technology provides our only window into their world. Satellite imagery occasionally captures glimpses of settlement patterns, small clearings within the jungle canopy with simple thatched huts. During authorized aerial surveys, Researchers have observed community gathering areas and evidence of traditional practices while maintaining respectful distance. These current observation approaches represent a dramatic shift from earlier contact attempts. Throughout the late 19th and 20th centuries, various expeditions demonstrated the consistent Sentinelese hostility toward outsiders. The most notorious occurred in 1880, when a British expedition captured 6 Sentinelese individuals. The adults quickly died from disease exposure, and though the children were returned with gifts, the trauma lingered in tribal memory. The 2004 tsunami marked a pivotal moment in understanding the tribe's environmental knowledge. Despite fears the population had been decimated, aerial surveys confirmed their survival. The Sentinelese had apparently recognized natural warning signs and retreated to higher ground, evidence of their sophisticated environmental understanding despite technological isolation. The ethical dimensions surrounding North Sentinel Island extend beyond curiosity. Anthropologists remain divided between those advocating for protected isolation and others suggesting gradual, controlled contact could provide medical benefits and cultural documentation. Local folklore from neighboring islands speaks of the Sentinelese as shadow people with mystical powers, a narrative that underscores their almost mythic status in regional consciousness. Their isolation raises profound questions about human adaptability. While most societies have undergone millennia of technological evolution, the Sentinelese have maintained their lifestyle by choice. They've actively rejected outside influence, famously demonstrated when they repurposed metal from shipwrecks to fashion arrow tips, adopting useful materials while rejecting the culture that produced them. Legal protections continue to evolve under India's Aboriginal Tribes Protection Act, making contact attempts criminal offences punishable by imprisonment. The Indian Navy conducts regular patrols to intercept trespassers, while satellite monitoring provides additional security without intrusion, creating a comprehensive protection system. What makes North Sentinel Island truly unique among forbidden zones is its dual-threat nature. Unlike restricted military installations where danger comes from security forces, or contaminated sites where environmental hazards pose the primary risk, North Sentinel combines lethal human defense with biological vulnerability. Visitors face immediate physical danger from arrows and spears, while simultaneously risking becoming unwitting carriers of pathogens that could devastate the entire population. A fortress defended not just by weapons, but by isolation itself. America's secret. Area 51. From the isolation of North Sentinel Island, we travel to a place where high-tech surveillance and armed personnel shield America's most classified military secrets. In the vast Nevada desert sits a location where the warning signs don't mince words. Use of deadly force authorized. This stark message marks the boundary of a facility whose existence the U.S. government refused to acknowledge for decades. The facility, officially designated as Homey Airport or Groom Lake, carries a more recognizable name in popular culture: Area 51. Nestled within the sprawling Nevada Test and Training Range, this highly classified United States Air Force facility has generated more conspiracy theories than perhaps any other location on Earth. What happens behind those barbed wire fences that requires such extraordinary security measures? For nearly 60 years, Area 51 existed in a peculiar state of non-existence. Despite being clearly visible from satellite imagery and appearing in countless movies and television shows, the U.S. government maintained an official policy of neither confirming nor denying the base's existence. This changed remarkably recently. Only in 2013 did the CIA publicly acknowledge Area 51 in response to a Freedom of Information Act request filed 8 years earlier. This reluctant disclosure came with a declassification of documents detailing the base's history and purpose, though many specifics remain heavily redacted. The origins of Area 51 trace back to 1955, when the CIA and Air Force acquired the remote location primarily to test the Lockheed U-2 spy plane, a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft crucial during the Cold War. Area 51's isolated location, far from prying eyes and surrounded by mountains, made it perfect for developing and testing classified aircraft technology. What other aerospace innovations have been born in this secretive womb of military advancement? In the decades since, the base has likely hosted testing for numerous experimental aircraft and weapons systems. Its runways, among the longest in the world, suggest accommodation for specialized aircraft requiring extended takeoff or landing distances. The secrecy surrounding these projects has fueled speculation about extraterrestrial technology, though the documented reality of advanced aerospace development remains fascinating. Every classified aircraft prototype that later became public, from the State Route 71 Blackbird to various stealth technologies, needed a secure location for testing before official acknowledgement. Protecting these secrets requires multiple layers of sophisticated security. The perimeter features innocuous-looking orange posts concealing motion sensors that detect movement from significant distances, even on public land. Beyond this electronic fence, patrol the infamous camo dudes, security contractors typically employed through companies like AECOM, who maintain constant surveillance in white pickup trucks. The airspace above creates another barrier, permanently off-limits to civilian and conventional military aircraft, forming an exclusionary box of restricted airspace. Even military pilots conducting training exercises face disciplinary action if they accidentally enter this prohibited zone. How many eyes constantly watch this perimeter, and what technologies might they employ beyond what's publicly known? The consequences for attempting unauthorized access are severe. Trespassers face immediate arrest, substantial fines, and potential imprisonment under federal laws. All activities at Area 51 are classified as top secret/sensitive compartmented information, TS/SCI, among the highest security designations in the U.S. government. The authorization for deadly force is real, as demonstrated in January 2019, when security officers shot and killed an individual who ignored commands after driving through a checkpoint near Mercury, Nevada, and approaching a restricted area carrying a cylindrical object. The mystery surrounding Area 51 reached a peculiar crescendo in 2019 with the viral Storm Area 51 phenomenon. What began as a satirical Facebook event titled Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, quickly captured international attention. The tongue-in-cheek plan proposed a mass rush of the base, suggesting that with enough participants, some might successfully see them aliens. The military responded with uncharacteristic public statements. Air Force spokeswoman Laura McAndrews warned that officials would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American armed forces. Behind the scenes, local counties declared emergencies while military and law enforcement developed contingency plans. When September 20th arrived, reality proved less dramatic. Between 1,500 and 3,000 people attended festival events in nearby towns, while approximately 150 approached the boundaries. 7 people were arrested for minor offenses like trespassing. But what would have happened if thousands had actually rushed the gates as originally suggested? The security response to any attempted infiltration follows a carefully orchestrated progression. Sophisticated motion sensors and surveillance cameras detect approaches before intruders reach actual boundaries. Security personnel receive immediate notifications with precise coordinates and live video feeds. The camo dudes quickly intercept, supported by additional forces if necessary. Trespassers face immediate detention and transfer to federal authorities. Unlike the Sentinelese, who respond with immediate lethal force driven by isolation and self-preservation, Area 51's security system operates as an extension of federal law enforcement. The legal consequences typically include federal charges, substantial fines, and potential imprisonment. The severity of these consequences sends a clear message. Whatever happens inside Area 51 remains strictly off-limits to unauthorized visitors. What technological marvels or military secrets hide behind these layers of security? The true nature of America's most mysterious military installation continues to captivate our imagination. The radioactive ghost town, Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Unlike our previous locations where danger comes from human guardians, our next forbidden zone presents an enemy you cannot see, smell, or feel until it's too late. The 2,600 square kilometer Chernobyl Exclusion Zone stands as humanity's most profound warning about technological hubris, an area where a single catastrophic event rendered an entire region uninhabitable within hours. The Geiger counter in my hand chirps softly as we enter the outer perimeter of the zone. That gentle electronic chatter represents ionizing radiation, silently damaging cellular DNA with each passing second. While most areas we'll visit today have radiation levels considered relatively safe for brief exposure, this wasn't always the case. In 1986, when reactor number 4 exploded at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, radiation levels in some areas reached hundreds of thousands of times normal background levels. Our Ukrainian guide explains the zone's security protocols as we pass through the first checkpoint. Unlike Area 51, where armed guards and surveillance technology form the primary barrier, Chernobyl's most effective security measure is the radiation itself. Initially controlled by the Ukrainian military after the disaster, today's security concerns focus equally on keeping people out and monitoring what might escape. Radioactive particles that could spread through wildlife, wildfires, or water. We drive through a landscape of contradictions. The narrow road cuts through forests that have reclaimed vast stretches of abandoned farmland. Nature flourishes here in humanity's absence, a phenomenon scientists now call an involuntary park. Our guide points out fresh wolf tracks crossing the muddy road. The wolf population has exploded, she explains. Without humans, large mammals have multiplied dramatically. We now have thriving populations of grey wolves, wild boars, red deer, and numerous other species that have expanded beyond the zone's boundaries. The bus slows as we approach Pripyat, the purpose-built Soviet city that once housed 50,000 power plant workers and their families. Evacuated within days of the disaster, Pripyat stands frozen in 1986. A profound silence hangs in the air, broken only by the rustle of leaves and occasional birdsong. The abandoned Ferris wheel, its metal frames now rust-colored against the sky, never officially opened to the public. Scheduled to welcome crowds for May Day celebrations just days after the accident, it instead became a silent sentinel watching over a city's sudden abandonment. We step carefully through the crumbling palace of culture. The hollow echo of our footsteps reverberates through spaces where nature has begun dismantling human creation. Trees grow through broken floors, and vines snake across walls still adorned with fading communist propaganda. The air smells of damp concrete and decay. Personal belongings, photographs, children's toys, kitchen items, remain where they were left by residents told they would return in 3 days. That temporary evacuation has now stretched beyond 3 decades. The counter suddenly erupts in a frenzied staccato as we pass near a moss-covered patch of ground. Step back, our guide warns sharply. This is what we call a hotspot. She explains that the zone's contamination resembles a patchwork quilt, some squares deadly, others relatively benign, with no visual clues to distinguish them. Wind patterns during the initial explosion, subsequent rainfall, and decontamination efforts created this invisible mosaic. Some patches remain hundreds of times above safe thresholds, while others nearby register only slightly elevated readings. The most dangerous aspect of Chernobyl isn't what we can measure now, but what remains unmapped, she continues. Numerous burial sites containing highly contaminated equipment were hastily created during the cleanup. Some were properly documented, but others exist only in the memories of aging liquidators, the 600,000 emergency workers who risked their lives during the initial response. In the distance, a massive steel structure dominates the horizon, the new safe confinement. Completed in 2019 at a cost of $1.7 billion, this engineering marvel was designed to contain the still dangerous reactor for the next century. The arch-shaped building, large enough to cover the Statue of Liberty, was assembled nearby and then slid into place over the deteriorating concrete sarcophagus, built immediately after the disaster. Surprisingly, the zone isn't completely devoid of human presence. As we pass through a small village, smoke rises from a chimney. The Sentinelese, our guide explains. These self-settlers, mostly elderly residents who illegally returned to their homes despite evacuation orders, have become an unexpected part of the zone's story. There are about 180 of them now, with an average age of 63, she says. After years of trying to remove them, the Ukrainian government now informally permits their residence and provides limited services. The Ukrainian government's approach to the zone has evolved over time. What began as a tragedy has partially transformed into a unique research opportunity and even a tourist destination. Before COVID-19 and the 2022 Russian invasion disrupted visitation, thousands of tourists visited annually, following strict protocols including passport checks and radiation screening when exiting. Tourism remains controversial, balancing educational value against potential dangers. Our guide emphasizes the safety measures, staying on designated paths, not touching vegetation or structures, and limiting time in higher radiation areas. Each visitor monitors their cumulative exposure throughout the day. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Chernobyl is the timescale of contamination. While some radioactive elements like cesium-137 and strontium-90 will decay to safe levels within decades or centuries, meaning our grandchildren might see parts of this land reclaimed. Others like plutonium-239 have half-lives of 24,000 years. To put this in perspective, 24,000 years ago, humans were still painting on cave walls. The most contaminated areas will remain dangerous for 20,000 years, longer than any human civilization has existed. The exclusion zone presents a profound ethical question. What responsibility do we have to mark this place as dangerous for future generations who may not remember or understand what happened here? How do we create warnings that will outlast our current languages, governments, and perhaps even our civilization? Humanity's insurance policy. Svalbard Global Seed Vault. While Chernobyl represents our technological failures, another Arctic facility stands as a monument to human foresight. Buried deep within a frozen mountain near the North Pole lies humanity's ultimate backup plan, not designed to contain dangers, but to preserve what might save us all when catastrophe strikes. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault isn't technically forbidden, but it might as well be. Located on Spitsbergen Island in Norway's Svalbard archipelago, approximately 800 kilometers from the North Pole, it's among the most inaccessible facilities on Earth. This is the northernmost destination you can reach on a scheduled flight, and even then, you're only at the beginning of your journey to the vault itself. Unlike military installations protected by armed guards or hazardous zones cordoned off by invisible dangers, the Seed Vault's restricted access serves a different purpose: to safeguard biodiversity itself. This facility functions as humanity's insurance policy against catastrophic agricultural collapse, whether from war, climate change, disease, or mismanagement. The Norwegian government and its partners at Nordgen and the Crop Trust maintain strict protocols about who can enter and when. The entrance to the vault is deceptively modest. A concrete wedge protruding from the snow-covered mountainside, illuminated at night by an art installation of fiber-optic cables and reflective steel. This unassuming entrance belies the facility's true nature.